How's she going, boys? Mike here. Welcome back to Grampie's workshop. We're in the shop again, continuing with this reorganization and rebuilding and insulating of Grampie's workshop. Of course, the insulation's all done, and I got some of the reorganization set up here. I got my rack behind me, and I set up the compressor, and I built the workbench there last week. And today, what I want to do is mount the vise on the end of it. Sounds like a pretty simple little job, eh? Check this out. So that's it, I got all the screws on. Now the next thing is I want to mount my vise. Just one sec. Voila! The vise on the bottom here has got 3 holes to mount it, right? In order to get that really well secured, I would like to have this bolt here, or this hole, go down into that 2x4, and then this hole go into that 2x4. And then this hole will just go through the bench top. But by doing that, that means I have to move my vise in quite a bit on both sides. This makes the handle get kind of close here to the front of the bench. I don't know that I like that. No, I don't. So that means I would like to mount it out like that more. When I built my vise, I left this side of the bench here hang over 1.5 inches, but the front of the bench, I let that hang over, that's 2 inches. So I can move my vise in on the bench so that this bolt hole in this back corner will get in the middle of that 2x4. That's okay, because that means now that the vise is back just barely 2 inches off the edge of the bench, which is, I can live with that, right? So that's a good spot for that one. This hole here, like I say, is just going to go through the bench top and just bolt there. But this one here now, I would like that to also be secured in this 2x4, but that moves my vise too far back. I don't want that. So what I'm going to do is, another thing too that I'd like to mention is this front lip that rolls down on the bench. That lip is about 1 inch deep. The aconite top that I put on the bench before the metal is only 1/2 inch. So I've got a 1/2 inch of space under there. I think what I'd like to do is, I'd like to back this up with another piece of wood, just so that I wouldn't have that lip to catch on, if you know what I'm trying to say there. So I think what I might just do is get a piece of wood, cut it however wide that is. Let me just see. That's about 1 3/4 inch, and I'll put that the full length of the bench, and then I'll be able to screw through this into that piece of wood. Thing I like about this vise, it's got a swivel base, so you can loosen off these and you can swing your vise around. Now let's just, before I get all crazy about this, is the answer. Okay, so that's about where my vise is going to end up being, I think. So now if I swing it around, without moving it too much, if I swing it around, then I can still operate the vise off the end of the bench here without the handle smashing my knuckles into the end of the bench, if you know what I mean there, right? So I think that's going to be a good spot for it right there. To make sure I bring it far enough forward so that I can swing that around without the handle hitting on the corner. I think I can do that. Be about like that, I'm thinking. You would think, a mountain of vise would be a pretty simple task, wouldn't it? Not so. Lock that there. So now when my vise swings, yeah, the handle just clears the corner of the bench. So that'll be okay. Alright, the other thing I can do is, I can, just a minute now, there's more options here, eh? There's more options on the table, just a sec. If I were to change my plan and mount the vise this way, what would that give me? There. And this guy would still go down here, but now I'd be able to swing my vise that way, but not that way. I don't think that would be a good way to do it. Because I don't want my vise to swing onto the bench. So if I mount it like that, the vise will lock on this way, but it can swing 90 degrees, and I'll have 3 holes here that all bolt down into the bench. So is that a good idea? As opposed to, say, this way. This way it's secured at the front, secured at the side, so if I reefing on it this way, this holds it down. If I'm reefing on it that way, that'll support it. But if I mount it this way, then I get really good anchor points on these 3 corners. And if I'm pulling this way, I guess it won't do much. So this might be the way to put the base on, right like this. I'm telling you boys, just something as simple as putting the vise in turns into you know, I need to get an engineer on board to help me with it. But anyway, I think that's the way I'm going to put it. I'm going to mark these out now and drill some holes in there. Cut this piece of wood, put under there. So what I've done is I've cut some hemlock about 1 5/8 of an inch wide. So that's going to fit right in here. So I want that flush on the end. Okay, and then I've got 2 other pieces here to finish off the length of the bench. There we go. Okay, so I think that's about where I'm going to put my vise. So we're just going to mark some holes. All right, I've got this figured out. I think I'm going to use these 2-inch lag bolts to hold this to my bench top. So I need to drill some holes here, but I need to put a center tap in these holes. The bench is good and solid for hammering on, I'll say that anyways. Lube on those. And these are through holes, right? I'm going to go right through the wood. Okay, now these next holes I'm going to put in, these are not going to be through holes because I'm using the lag bolts. So those first holes were just sort of pilot holes for the lag bolts. So I just want to screw through the metal or drill through the metal with these ones. Clean that off a little. I'll just push this on the floor and the janitor will get it later on. Oh, just a sec, that's me. Now we have to reassemble our vise before I screw this on. And you see it's going to go that way, so the vise has to go on this way. Yep, like that. Right? And that'll allow it to swing that way. That's what we want. Okay, so that goes through there. Tip this up like so. And these are square nuts. So they thread in here. All right, so now it goes about like that. So this fellow is going to go in here. And then this guy is going to go in here. And this guy is going to go in here. All the holes lined up anyways, eh? And then just to set them, make sure they're tight. But I don't want to strip them, right? So that's good. The screws didn't come through underneath, and that screw is into the 2x4. So there's my vise mounted. And good and solid. Oh yeah, that's what I like. Well, the vise is on the bench. Isn't that nice? It was quite a little battle. Boys, oh boys, who'd have thought putting a vise on a bench could turn into such a job? But maybe that's just me. Operator error. Anyhow, it's on there. That's good. One more thing checked off the list. So thanks for watching, folks. Don't forget, thumbs up me. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.